Welcome to The Driven Entrepreneur, where we sit down with visionaries, trailblazers, and entrepreneurs and discover why and how they do what they do. We'll get the backstory, plus plenty of life and business lessons along the way. Here's your host, Matt Brauning.
Welcome to The Driven Entrepreneur, the go-to plan for coaches, authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs of all kinds to start, grow, and profit a business that you love. Hey, I'm your host, Matt Brauning, and today, just like we have for the last few weeks, we have opened up the email question bag, and we're taking your questions about small business, about your life, about mindset, and how to move forward in this climate. Today's question comes from Margie Dunki-Jacobs. She writes, what makes an entrepreneur never give up on their goals? Margie, that's a really, really good question. What makes an entrepreneur never give up on their goals? Been in business for over 20 years, and I'll tell you a couple of things. Is number one, sometimes goals need to be given up on. Yeah, sometimes goals need to be given up on, meaning the seasons change. I've had some goals that I set, in my early 20s that later on in business or in a new business, I realize obviously those are not the same goals that I want to achieve or I want to move forward with. So I just want to tell you right up front, if you're listening to this and you're like struggling with fighting through this goal and it doesn't seem like it's happening, I want to give you permission, if it's healthy to do so, if the season has changed, if you're fighting a battle and you don't know why, I'm giving you permission to give up on goals that no longer serve you. Okay, so that's number one, Margie. There's other things we can talk about with how to not give up on your goals. So now that we've set up the frame that it is okay to give up on goals that no longer serve, what about the ones you know you're going after and you know you want to achieve? Well, there's a few things you can make sure. Number one, I make sure that you have a clear vision for what it looks like to achieve the goal. A clear vision of what it looks like once the goal is achieved. All right, so if you have a goal in business, you want to make sure you know, what does this business look like? What does my lifestyle look like when this revenue goal is achieved? If I want to grow my business by a certain percentage, right, I want to scale, what does it look like? What's the vision of having maybe 3 new employees? That kind of thing, right? So getting clear on the vision is going to help you not give up on it because when it gets hard, and it will, when something doesn't go as planned, and it will, you can rely and you can lean back on that vision and say, oh, I know this is hard right now. I sent this email and they're not replying the way, they're not responding the way I thought they would in my database. You can stop and go, okay, this isn't about this email. This isn't about this one thing. This is about this bigger vision. So having a clear vision helps. Being clear on your purpose for your goal, right? The why behind it. There's a lot of teaching that's been done by many people on, knowing your why, having your purpose. I'm not going to get deep into that today, but having a clear purpose and a motivational force and a why is a great thing. Having beliefs that you can, in fact, do it. If you set up goals that contradict what you believe, if there's limiting beliefs in your mindset around how much money you can make or how big of a difference you can make or how much you can work or how stressed you're going to get, things like that. So really check inside and ask yourself, do I have any limiting beliefs that would stop me from getting this goal? And the last piece, and this is just some pre-frames here, would be also flexibility. If you have a goal set up and there's only one way to win, there's a really good chance you're not going to achieve your dream. You're not going to achieve that goal. However, the person with the most flexibility will control the system. This is something we talk about in our neuro-linguistic programming training. If you follow me for any length of time, you know that this is something I've been teaching for the last 15 years. My first career in business was in real estate and in finance. And the second chapter, so to speak, in my entrepreneur career was as a speaker, as a coach, and as a trainer. So I've been training NLP, which is essentially the language of the mind and how to take control of your brain back for 15 years. One of the presuppositions, the foundational presupposition in NLP is exactly what I said. The person with the most flexibility will control the system. So what does that mean? Well, let's look at a system of a family. If the child is more flexible than the parent is, like if that kid has more ways to try to win over to get the candy bar at the grocery store than the parent has ways to say no, guess who's going home with the candy bar? Yeah, that's right. In their grubby little hands, that kid's getting the candy bar because the kid can ask nicely. The kid can throw a tantrum. The kid can have puppy dog eyes. The kid can barter. The kid can say, I'll pay you back. The kid can come up with a chore idea, right? Where the parent very often, if they've had a stressful day, basically is like, I can say no a nice way, and then I can say no a mean way, and maybe that's it. So the more flexibility you have in ways to achieve your goal, the more likely you're going to get it. Plain and simple. Hope that makes sense. So those are some things, Margie, I would say about that is, again, having a clear vision. What does the goal look like? What does the goal look like achieved? Number 2 is being clear on your purpose, your why, for why that goal actually matters. And here's the great thing, Margie. If you're walking through it wanting to achieve a goal, and you get through these steps and you go, okay, I'm clear on my vision of what I want, and then you get into the purpose of why you want it, and you're like, well, I want this goal so I have more money. Why? Well, so I have more money so I can work less and have more time with my family. Why? Well, because I love my family. My number one value is to spend time with them. And you might almost back yourself into realizing that, well, do I want to have this goal that's going to take me a bunch more hours and a lot more time in the office, and I'm working 60 hours and right? And all of a sudden it's like, gosh, do I actually want that? And you might say, yes, it's worth the short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain of freedom and time with my family. Absolutely. But I've done this myself. You might back yourself into it, reversing that way and go, gosh, if my ultimate goal, my purpose is to spend time while my kids are little, let's say, why would I bust my hump for 3 years, 80 hours a week to get these financial goals so that after I miss this time, then I can have more time? It's like, why not just take more time now, right? And maybe your goal changes. So instead of like busting my hump so that I can make all this revenue, maybe it's I'm going to work on setting up some automations and some efficiency so that I can get this revenue I'm making, so I can get my result, but in less time. So, right. So all of a sudden you have that extra free time now instead of 3-5 years from now. Get the vision clear. Get clear on the purpose. It's going to reveal a lot to you about the goal. And then, of course, number 3 is double check any beliefs or limiting beliefs. A limiting belief is any belief you have, true or not true, that limits you or limits your situation. Maybe we'll do another episode deeply just on limiting beliefs because there's a lot to unpack there. Limiting beliefs are not necessarily negative beliefs. They can be positive beliefs, but that limit your option due to what you believe, right? If I'm 42 years old, as we're talking right now, if I believe that, nothing good happens after 40, that's obviously a negative belief, but it's also limited. But what if I believe, hey, when you're young, you have more energy. And as I get older, obviously I have less energy. Now, have I seen that to be true? Yeah, maybe, right? I don't have the same energy I've had in my 20s. But think about that. If I really believe that, it then limits what I can achieve. If I want to do something that takes massive energy and I believe I can't have any because of my age, true or not true, right? Whether it's only in my mind or it actually interacts with reality, it's going to limit what I do. So I would much rather you check those limiting beliefs and turn them into positive beliefs. That is something you can do with NLP. That's something we teach quite a lot of. If you listen to the end of the podcast, hopefully by now you've already heard we have a free gift for you. It's our NLP practitioner manual, and we go deep into limiting beliefs and goal setting and a lot of these kind of things we're talking about during this episode. And if you want to grab our NLP manual, you've probably heard the ad I've recorded for a number of episodes now. But if you go to NLPwithmatt.com, that's it, NLPwithmatt.com. It's a 74-page color manual. It's totally free. It's the whole manual that we use to teach our live certification trainings. And you can just grab it. It's a free gift, and you can dive in and really get your feet wet and check out what, NLP for goal setting, neuro-linguistic programming for limiting beliefs. We get into learning strategies, communication patterns, languaging, leadership. There's a lot of great content in there. So make sure you check that out. And that, I think, answers the question. And the last piece I said, the fourth item, was flexibility. So you want to stay flexible in your approach. You have more ways to win, and that's going to help you not give up on your goals. Thanks for the question, Margie. And hey, if you want to check out Margie Dunki-Jacobs, she actually teaches about limiting beliefs, which is kind of cool because I threw this in there. She has a really neat little program called Annihilate Your Limiting Beliefs so you can thrive as a confident, happier you. And you can find Margie on Facebook at Margie.Dunki-Jacobs, D-U-N, and we'll put that in the show notes in the podcast if you listen back on demand, or if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, that'll be in there. But yeah, check out and follow Margie Dunki-Jacobs. She deserves a follow. She's very, very cool coach in this limiting belief space. So thanks for the question, Margie. Thank you for listening to The Driven Entrepreneur. I'll be back next week as we get in the mailbag and answer your questions. Remember, if you want to get your question answered, and of course, I love not just answering questions, but I'm going to highlight you on the show like I did with Margie today, like we did with our friend Dennis last week, as we answered his question as well. We'll highlight you, highlight your business for the audience, because why not, right? I want good community in this show. We want to be able to highlight each other, support each other, and really, really just let you shine. So this show is about you. It's for you. I'm here to tell you, if you have a dream, if you have a desire, if you have a product, program, service that you want to create to add value to the world, you can do it. I'll see you next week with another question from a driven entrepreneur. Bye-bye.